Hello everybody, welcome back to another Python video and the fourth video in our series on pillow image processing. The focus of this video will be on how we can make an image from scratch. So to start off, I just have pillow and NumPy imported, and here you can see I have a NumPy array, and basically this is representing the data that I want to encode into an image. So it's a 2 pixel by 2 pixel NumPy array, and in each pixel we have the RGB values. So this one here you can imagine is being all red because RGB, red is 255 the maximum, and then green and blue are zeroed out. Here you can imagine this is being all green, here all blue, and this last one, not really sure, or maybe not really sure right off the bat what it will be, but some mixture of red and green with no blue. So great. Let's now just try what we might think to do. So I can say img, or let's do it like this. Let's do image dot from array of ARR, and this is going to throw an error. So what's happening here, and let's see, it's saying cannot handle this data type. So something kind of about the data type is going off. So let's scroll back up to some of our earlier notes and let's see if we can find an example of what the data type is. So notice here, when we got the 00 pixel values, it says here the D type is U int 8. The U stands for unsigned, so this is unsigned integer, meaning no positives or kind of no negatives. I mean, you have positive values and also 0. And 8 for 8-bit. Remember, for the RGB values, there's 256 possibilities. That's 2 to the 8. So that's where the 8 bits come from. So all we need to do to kind of make our image generate is we just need to specify this data type. So I'm going to copy paste this line here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to say dtype equals. Now if I just type u int 8, this is going to throw an error. This isn't in base Python, so I need to say np dot. So no errors there. And now let's try again. So I'm going to say image dot from array of ARR. Oops, let's see, what did oh, okay, good. So I almost thought it didn't generate, but I was expecting this and I temporarily forgotten. Maybe you see it, maybe you don't. There's a very small dot on my screen. I can try zooming in. This is about as much as I can zoom in. And maybe you can see a little bit of the colors here. So we have red, green, blue, it looks like yellow. So how are we going to get this larger? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm first going to say img is equal to this. And then what I can do is I can say img.resize. And I just pass the tuple of dimensions that I want. So I say 100 by 100. So, okay, great. That's red, green, blue. So remember, red and green were in the first kind of row of our array, and then blue and then yellow is what we got by mixing red and green. But maybe I don't really like how this blurring has been done. So kind of that happened when we called resize. So let's take a look and see what's going on. So I'm going to say help img.resize. And we can see here there's this keyword argument called resample. And here it's giving us some kind of optional resampling filters. So it's saying here we could have box, bilinear, Hamming, bicubic, kind of so on. So maybe, okay, let's see what all of these options are and then take a look at them and see if we can find one that looks a little better. So I'm going to say dir, this, oops, run, new cell, dir for directory. Let's say image.resampling. And okay, so these are all of the options that we saw, or some of the options that we saw in the documentation. We're not going to worry about these guys here. So it's really just these first ones. So what I'm going to do is, well, first, let's create a for loop and let's print out all of these resampling options. And then we're going to remove the ones that we don't want. So I'm going to say for s in dir image.resampling. First, okay, we can say we'll print s. So exactly what we had up here, but now we want to say if s doesn't start with an underscore. So I can say if s of 0 is not equal to this underscore, then what do I want to do? Well, I want to print s in that case. Whoops. And I need a tab here, so let's see. So excellent, these are our resampling options. And now, what if I want to have my image generated for each of these resampling options so I can see which one I like the best? So again, we're going to do this in the for loop. And first way I'm going to show you is with a small mistake. So what I'm going to do is, instead of printing S here, maybe I'll leave this just so we can look at it, and then in a new for loop. So instead of printing S, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say display img.resize. So we still want it to be 100 by 100. But now what do I want to do? Well, I can say, let's have resample equals image.resampling.s. Now this is going to throw an error. Let's see. So it's saying attribute error S. So typically what happens, so notice S, these are all strings, and typically when we kind of call an attribute like this, it's not a string. So I'll show you two different ways that we can get around this. So let me copy this cell, and then we'll go from there. So instead of having .s like this, what I could do instead, so I'm just going to delete this temporarily, so I'll say resample equals get attribute, so attr, and now I say, okay, image dot resampling dot or comma s, and let's see, expected. Okay, so there's something wrong with my parentheses. Let's see. So 100, 100, that looks good. There's the get attribute, so I need to close the resize, and then I need to close the display. There it goes. So remember, if we scroll back up, we had bicubic, bilinear, then box. Nearest was the last one. So box is looking really good, and linear is looking really good. So this is kind of what I had been anticipating when we kind of built ARR. So one way you can do this, I'm going to show you a way that works exactly the same, just a little bit different. So let me copy this cell. So instead of having this get attribute here, I'm going to say resample equals, and let me be careful not to delete too many parentheses. So I'm going to say image dot resampling square brackets s. This is a little bit kind of less flexible of a way. Might not work in all situations, but just as an example of something else that would work. So it gives exactly the same thing as above, just two different methods of doing the same thing. I think this is a good place to end the video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.